Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's good to be back. For the first time in nearly 75 years plus, we find ourselves living in different worlds. The first world is October 7th. I hear from many of you articles, speeches, how Jewish communities throughout the world are trying to navigate life after October 7th. It's the main conversation with my wife, with my parents. The constant news and stories, this is something that we cannot escape from. So we have that lens, that world. Then we have another world, our everyday life. The secular endeavors that we enjoy doing, traveling, watching sports, work, bills, whatever that may be. And then we have the third world, which is our greatest challenge right now. Right now, as I look at this congregation, I know many of you who are going through enormous difficulties, a recent passing, a long hospital stay, trying to escape from your everyday reality. So this is the third frame. So the question we ask ourselves is, as much as we're lamenting and trying to process October 7th, how do we get by with our own lives today, with all the burdens that we experience? 2 weeks ago, Temple Emanu-El, we did something I felt was beautiful. We gave a special birthday blessing to Hal Abrams in front of all of his friends and his family. And I felt this was the right time to pivot, to find some type of joy, some type of simcha, as we try to live our lives post-October 7th. And even with the recent news of the IDF finding 30 bodies, and even with the life cycles that so many of you are experiencing, we still have an obligation to pivot. We still have an obligation to establish what a Judaism will look like post-October 7th. At the same time, establish a Judaism that brings comfort, that brings joy, that responds to adversity, that responds to injustice, at the same time, studying our tradition. And here we are in Parshat Bo. And even in the opening verse, it speaks to Pharaoh's heart being hardened. And if we look at Mikra Gedolos, which is medieval commentary on the Tanakh, Rashi, Ibn Israel, Nachmanides, all the greats, they say very little about the idea that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. Was the Pharaoh incapable of teshuvah? Was he incapable of getting back on the right path? And here we are in verse 16 and 17. Pharaoh quickly summoned Moses and Aaron, and he said to them, I have sinned to Adonai, your God, and to you. So here is Pharaoh, our enemy, acknowledging, just as we do on Yom Kippur, that he can engage in an Avera, a sin. He acknowledges the God of Israel, and then he says he sinned to God and he sinned to you, implying to Moses and to Aaron. So he did 2 out of 3. The third one we're going to get to. He apologized to Moses and Aaron. He apologized to God. And there's one more he forgot to do. And even Nachmanides comments that Pharaoh's request for forgiveness was genuine. His apology was directed to Moses, and in this verse he acknowledged that Moses is his master. On top of that, Nachmanides, the Spanish rabbi, he makes this plea as a form of courtesy, hoping that he would engage in some type of prayer that could change the experience of the plagues. But we know the fate of Pharaoh and his army, so what is the third? And here I want to speak directly to those I've been in contact with, those who experience the ebb and flows of pain and suffering and loss. The third one, forgiving yourselves. I think that if we're going to establish a new type of Judaism, in January 2024, and I'm not thrilled because it's an election year and this is where the worst comes out of us. But the power of forgiveness and forgiving yourselves of the things that you have done is so good for your neshama. And for those that know me, I love data. I love stats. I love reports. When we say that we are sorry, it's actually healthy for us, believe it or not. Again, acknowledging our deeds, the wrong deeds, and owning up to them, as Pharaoh does in accordance to Jewish law. He owned what he did. He apologized to God. He apologized to Moses. He went through the Yom Kippur system. So as we try to process life, and we try to comfort those who are in need or those who made mistakes that they regret, one of the most important things that we can do for each other is not just apologize to those whom we have wronged, but to forgive yourselves. For those who are in this congregation, I hope you listen to our great commentators, Maimonides, that we cannot go on living if we cannot find forgiveness in ourselves. Life is incredibly challenging. Health, bills, kids. But here we have this beautiful scene in which Pharaoh owned his transgressions. And as we welcome January, February, March with primary season, when we'll get heated on social media and all that stuff, remember that it is our obligation to live Judaism for those who were murdered on October 7th. It's to pray for them. It's to study Torah for them. It's engaged in righteousness and loving kindness for them. For them. That is our duty. And now we're going to add to that list. Take to heed what our Torah portion says. Find forgiveness with others, al kama v'kama, and all the more so. Find forgiveness for yourselves. Shabbat shalom.